Toys from the 1960s brought endless fun and imagination to children everywhere, sparking creativity and setting the stage for countless adventures. These beloved playthings still hold a special place in our hearts, reminding us of simpler days filled with play and discovery. Today, we're looking back at 10 iconic toys from the 1960s that shaped childhood for a generation. The 1960s were a time of huge change in the toy industry. Plastic manufacturing had become cheaper and more reliable. Television advertising was reaching millions of households for the first time, and companies like Mattel, Hasbro, and Kenner were racing to turn simple ideas into household names. Many of the toys on this list weren't just playthings. They were the start of entire brands that are still around today. G.I. Joe, created by Hasbro in 1964, was one of the first action figures made specifically for boys. The earliest G.I. Joe figures represented the major branches of the U.S. military: Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Since the word doll was seen as a toy for girls, the company coined the term action figure instead. The original 12-inch figures caught on fast, prized for their lifelike detail and posable joints. By the late 1960s, G.I. Joe had gained features like flocked hair and gripping hands. Even as its themes evolved over the years, the toy's military roots stayed central to its identity. In 2004, the original G.I. Joe figure earned a spot in the National Toy Hall of Fame. The Easy Bake Oven, launched by Kenner in 1963, became a hit almost overnight. Heated by a pair of 100-watt incandescent bulbs, it let kids bake tiny cakes and cookies of their own. The first models came in pale yellow or turquoise, styled to resemble a real kitchen appliance. Kenner sold 500,000 units in the toy's debut year alone. Each oven came bundled with cake mixes and miniature baking pans, giving children a hands-on introduction to cooking. Beyond the fun factor, it taught basic kitchen skills to young users, and it said the design was inspired by the pretzel ovens used by street vendors in New York City. The Etch A Sketch, a drawing toy dreamed up by Frenchman André Cassagnès in the late 1950s, arrived on American shelves through the Ohio Art Company on July 12, 1960, and swiftly became one of the decade's best-selling toys. It's built around a thick gray screen framed in red plastic with two white knobs at the base. Turning them moves an internal stylus that clears aluminum powder from the back of the screen, tracing a line. The left knob for horizontal motion, the right for vertical. This let users sketch surprisingly detailed pictures. More than 600,000 units sold before the end of 1960. The toy was originally called L'écran magique, or the magic screen, before being renamed for U.S. buyers. Barbie, dreamed up by Ruth Handler, debuted through Mattel on March 9, 1959. Handler based the concept on a German toy called Bild Lilly that she'd come across in Europe. Barbie stood out for her grown-up look, a sharp contrast to the baby dolls that dominated the market at the time. Throughout the 1960s, she was sold as a teenage fashion model, with her wardrobe designed by Charlotte Johnson. As the decade went on, Barbie's success brought new outfits, friends, and eventually a boyfriend, Ken. By decade's end, she'd become a cultural icon, representing glamour and ambition for countless young girls. Early Barbies were manufactured in Japan, where her outfits were sewn by hand. Rock'em Sock'em Robots, a two-player toy dreamed up by Marvin Glass and Associates, was first produced by the Marx Toy Company in 1964. It pits two boxing robots, Red Rocker and Blue Bomber, against each other, each controlled by joysticks. The goal? Knock your opponent's robot head clean off. The toy took off across the U.S., selling in the hundreds of thousands, and drew inspiration from older arcade boxing games built around mannequin fighters. Its design barely changed for more than 10 years, turning it into a lasting piece of pop culture. Interestingly, the concept was nearly scrapped after a real-life boxer's death, and was only saved by swapping human figures for robots. Hot Wheels, the brainchild of Elliot Handler, launched through Mattel on May 18, 1968. Handler got the idea after watching his son play with Matchbox cars and decided to create something faster and flashier. The debut lineup, the original Sweet 16, included 16 custom cars, among them the now legendary dark blue custom Camaro. Where Matchbox aimed for realism, Hot Wheels leaned into hot rod style, with oversized rear wheels and flame-painted bodies. The cars were engineered to zip along specially built orange tracks. The line was an instant success, shaking up the die-cast toy industry and pushing rivals to raise their game. The Twin Mill, one of the earliest models, proved so beloved that a full-size drivable version was eventually built in 2001. Chatty Cathy, a pull-string talking doll from Mattel, was sold from 1959 to 1965. Designed by Ruth and Elliot Handler, she was among the first dolls able to speak when her string was tugged, rattling off 11 different phrases, including "I love you" and "Please take me with you." Chatty Cathy came in a range of hair colors and styles, and by 1963, her look had shifted to long twin ponytails. Mattel also spun off Chatty Baby and Tiny Chatty Baby. Her voice belonged to noted voice actress June Foray. After Barbie, Chatty Cathy ranked as the second most popular doll of the decade. Spirograph, a geometric drawing toy for producing intricate curves known as hypotrochoids and epitrochoids, was invented by British engineer Dennis Fisher and hit shelves in 1965. It works through a set of interlocking plastic gears and rings with toothed edges. Users insert a pen into holes in the gears and spin them to trace elaborate patterns. The toy caught on quickly, thanks to how easily it produced complex, striking designs from such simple motion. It was named Toy of the Year in 1967, cementing its broad appeal. Kenner brought Spirograph to American shoppers in 1966, further boosting its popularity. Fisher reportedly drew on his background working with gear mechanisms when designing it.
Lite Brite arrived from Hasbro in 1967 and quickly won over kids nationwide. The toy is a light-up box paired with small colored pegs that slot into a panel to build glowing pictures. Created by Burton Meyer, Joseph Burke, and S. Robert Levine, it let children follow templates or invent their own designs on black paper. A bulb inside the box lit up behind the pegs, making the finished image glow. It was praised for boosting creativity and fine motor skills alike. Lite Brite's lasting popularity earned it a spot on Time magazine's list of the all-time greatest toys, and in 2022, it was inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame.
Creepy Crawlers, released by Mattel in 1964, let kids mold their own rubbery bugs and creatures at home. The set came with metal molds shaped like insects, plus a liquid called Plastigoop. Kids poured the goop into the molds, then baked them on a small electric hot plate. Once cooled, the goop turned into soft, rubbery critters ready to pop out of the mold. Creepy Crawlers was part of a larger toy line called Thing Maker, which also offered molds for flowers, soldiers, and more. The line was pulled from shelves in the early 1970s over safety concerns tied to its heating element. But Toymax brought the brand back in the 1990s using a safer light bulb-based heater.
Of course, these 10 are just the tip of the iceberg. The decade also gave us classics like the Slinky, Play-Doh, Viewmaster, Mr. Potato Head, and Twister, each with its own devoted fan base. Together, these toys captured a decade defined by bold colors, big imagination, and a growing toy industry that was learning just how much joy a simple invention could bring. So which of these 1960s toys was your favorite? Drop a comment below and tell us what you remember playing with.